Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Today is May the 14th, and I'm in the lab. And of course, you guys know we are on day number 3 of Butterick 7012. Today is cut day. Now, before I start cutting out the pattern and explaining to you what's going to be right side up, right side down, what have you, right? I think today I'm just going to cut the main fabric, not the lining fabric. I feel like I don't need to cut that today. I could cut it tomorrow or cut it off camera, but we'll see how I'm feeling, okay? Because I only want to be in the lab for about an hour, so I'm only giving myself an hour to cut fabric today. Now, before I cut fabric, I want to share the upper and under sleeve with you, how to take the measurements on the pattern to make sure that it's going to fit around your biceps and the length of your sleeve. All right, so I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to use my overhead top down camera, my GoPro there, and we're going to get started. So let's go ahead and go now. All right, so I went ahead and I cut out pattern pieces 8 through 13, which are your sleeve pattern pieces. One thing I want to make certain of is you see your elbow line, you see your, what is it called? Bicep line, and then you have your hemline down here, right? Now, make sure you transfer all your notches and your dots when you cut out your fabric. However, I want to say this. You want to measure your bicep. So measure around your biceps right here, right? I'm going to say that meaty, fattiest part of your forearm, okay? Your upper arm, I'm sorry. Measure that. Now, for me, I ended up with 14, okay? So with that being said, you're going to measure across the pattern piece. Now, when I measured across, it was 11 5/8 or 11.625. Now, the seam allowance is 5/8 and 5/8. And before you ask me, why does it say cut 2 and you only remove seam allowance of 1.25 instead of 2.5? That's because it is going around as a circumference as a sleeve instead of a front and back pattern piece, if that makes sense, right? So with that being said, you need to take the measurement across your biceps, right? On the pattern piece is what I'm talking about. Remove the seam allowance, it's 1.25, and it gives you a total of 10.375. Now do this for whatever size that you are cutting. Just for reference, again, I'm doing a size 20. Now, of course, you want to transfer that line to your undersleeve. All you need to do is match up that notch right here. Match that up. But you also want to make sure that your lengthening and shortening line is matched up too. And then make your marks on your undersleeve. Turn it over. Make a straight line across. That's exactly what I did. And then measure from line, across the pattern piece. Now, once again, reference size 20, measuring it across, gave me 7.375. Remove the seam allowance from each side, which are 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, which gave me 1.25. Subtract that, and it becomes 6.125 or 6 1/8. So then what I did, I took my 10.375 on my upper sleeve, added 6.125 to that, and of course it's over a 14, but with 1 inch seam allowance, that's 15 is what I need. But really what it gives me is a baggy sleeve. 6.125, it gives me 16 and a half. Now, once again, my sleeve, my circumference of my forearm is a 14. If I do 1 inch, it gives a 15. However, there is a lining for this. So because it's a lining, I can simply go down a whole inch if I want to, but I want to see what it's going to look like once I sew the sleeve together, and then determine if I want it a little on the looser fit to put like a puffier shirt underneath or something, or if I want it on the slimmer fit side. If I decide on the slimmer fit, I will remove 1 inch. How I would remove 1 inch is at the side seam right here. I would remove a 1/2 inch from both pattern pieces, okay? So this is my side seam right here. And then on this side, this is my side seam, okay? So if I decide on the slimmer sleeve, I would remove a 1/2 inch going in towards the pattern piece, okay? So I wanted to share that with you. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about the fabric and get to cutting the pieces out. Let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about cutting out the pattern pieces, okay? Now, you need pattern piece 1 through 9. Tonight, I am only cutting out the main fabric. I will cut out the lining based off of what the boat ends up being, okay? So, with that being said, you guys will see that fabric here in a little bit, you know, probably tomorrow once I tally up all the votes from Facebook, Instagram, and I'm actually going to post it on YouTube as well. All right, so anyway, you need pattern piece 1 through 9. Now, I want to make a note that pattern piece number 3 is the only pattern piece that you will put down on your fabric like this, wrong side of the pattern piece facing up, and cut all the way around. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and cut mine out. I feel like you could do this yourself. You don't really need me to walk you through it. However, I'm going to say make sure you transfer all your dots, all your notches. Another thing I want you to transfer is this line right here where you have your dot. Transfer that line onto your fabric. Also transfer this fold line right here on pattern piece number 8, your sleeve. You need to transfer the dot and the fold line. What I'm going to do is make a little snip and then go all the way up to the dot when I get to that part, okay? So make sure you make that. You do not have to make your buttonholes, but I am going to if I need. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Other thing you want to make note of, make sure you make your dart on your front. Mark out your dart, I should say. Make sure you mark that. And make sure you mark that buttonhole in the front pattern piece as well. Other than that, cut your notches and mark your dots as well. Let's go ahead and cut it out. I'm going to stop talking and get to work. Let's go now. guys, welcome to day number 5, I think it is, and we are going to be looking over the pattern pieces and the instructions is what we're going to be doing today. So let's go ahead and first start off with the pattern pieces you will need in order to construct the jacket, which is view A for Butterick 7012. So let's go ahead and talk about the pattern pieces. So let's first start with just the pieces that's the outside shell. All right. So first pattern piece is pattern piece number 1, and pattern piece number 1 is the front. You need to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of interfacing. Now I will go ahead and cut my interfacing in just a moment when I get ready to start sewing. You will see that on camera, all right? Not the cutting process, but you get what I'm saying. You'll see that when I get ready to start sewing. Next pattern piece is pattern piece number 2. It is the side front. You need to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of lining, and you're going to interface 2 of the lining. So interface 2. So basically you have 2 of fabric. You're going to interface this section, the side front, on the regular fabric, and then you have 2 of lining. All right. Next pattern piece is pattern piece number 3, the back. You need to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of interfacing. Next pattern piece is pattern piece number 4, which is the side back. You need to cut 2 of fabric, 2 of lining, and 2 of interfacing. Next pattern piece is pattern piece number 5, the upper collar. You need to cut 1 on the fold of fabric and then interface 1 on the fold of fabric as well. Next one is pattern piece number 6, the under collar. You need to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of interfacing. Pattern piece number 7, the front facing. You need to cut 2 of fabric and 2 of interfacing. Pattern piece number 8, the upper sleeve. You need to cut 2 of fabric. Pattern piece number 9, the upper sleeve, you need to cut 2 of fabric. Pattern piece number 10, the front lining, you need to cut 2 of lining, okay? No fabric, just lining. Pattern piece number 11, which is the back lining, you need to cut 2 of lining. Pattern piece number 12 is the upper sleeve lining, you need to cut 2 of lining. And the last pattern piece is pattern piece number 13, the upper sleeve lining, and you need to cut 2 of lining. So those are all the pattern pieces, there's 13 of those, that you will need in order to construct Butterick 7012. So let's go ahead and get into the instruction. Now that we have cut out all the pattern pieces, let's go ahead and cover the instruction. So if you could see this, when I zoom it in, you will see that I have sew days up at the top for my jacket, and then I have sew days for the pants. So just to kind of tell you, and I'm going to zoom this in so you're able to see it, the sew days, so today is Friday, so I'm going to be working on the hard shell, but if I was doing this during the week, Monday through Friday, what I would be doing is, so if you are working on this Monday through Friday, 5 days, Day 1 is working on the hard shell, which is the outer portion of your jacket. Day number 2 is what I like to call Sleeves R Us, like the old Toys R Us, play on Toys R Us. I'm calling it Sleeves R Us, and that's where we're going to be working on the sleeves on day number 2. That's step 9 through 15. Day number 3 is working on the lining. That's 16 through 24. Day number 4 is finishing up the lining, which is steps 25 through 34, and then finishing it off with buttons and buttonholes on day number 5, 35 through 36. All right, but let's go ahead and get into, we already talked about the pieces you're gonna need, pattern piece 1 through 13. Make sure you take note of the way that you need to, lay your pattern pieces out. Also, for this one, the seam allowance is 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Make sure that you are reading the instructions. So for me, I am cutting a size 20 for this pattern. Make sure we already went through the whole sizing up and all that good stuff. Okay, let's take a look at the glossary real quick. 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. The glossary, you need to know what catch stitch is. Catch stitch is basically catching it on the other side to make sure that you are completely sealing it. E-stitch, edge stitch. Now let's talk about flat dart. So dart is basically sewing a dart and pressing it flat. Now for all of these, you could scan the QR code and see what each sewing tutorial for all of these mean from scanning that QR code. All right, so let's get into the jacket. So what we're going to be doing today is working on the front, the back, the side front, and the side back. That's it. Okay. So for today, we are working on steps 1 through 8. And and we're going to do the undercollar as well. I almost forgot about the undercollar. We are going to be working on the undercollar. So what we are going to be doing today, I have already put together all of my interfacing for pattern piece 1 through 9. You need to interface every last one, pattern piece 1 through 9. Okay? Or 1 through, yeah, I think it was 1. Oh, do not put interfacing on pattern piece number 8. You will need to put, 1 through 7. Pattern piece 1 through 7, you will need to interface. Okay? Now, looking at step number 2, just kind of going over what we're going to do today. We are going to make our darts. We're going to go ahead and create our stay stitching, make our darts in step number 2. Step number 3, we're going to go ahead and attach our side front to our front. Step number 3, we're going to stay stitch the neck area and ease stitch at the shoulder. After we do that, we're going to go ahead and attach our side back to our back. Then on step number 6, we're going to sew our shoulder seams and our side seams. Step number 7 is to go ahead and apply the undercollar. And then on step number 8, we're going to make sure that we trim down our seam allowance. Okay. So those are the things that we're going to do today. So basically we're making the outer shell today. And then in the upcoming days, we're going to keep constructing this jacket. All right. So let's go ahead and get into step number 2, which is make our darts and work on our front. So let's go ahead and do that now.